Please be attentive. Keep your cameras on if possible during our chat function. Otherwise, keep your mic muted when not talking. Please make yourselves comfortable, eat, stretch, move around if you need to. Embrace your inner creative. And we hope that you'll connect, learn, and have fun. Exchange emails and phone numbers with other people's in the chat feature if there's something that you want to make sure that you're able to connect to after the fact. Now we're going to do just a couple of polls with everyone. Amanda, would you be able to launch those? And so once we have all, we'll close this once we've gotten everyone's response, and we'll be able to show what the results are. How are we doing, Amanda?
We're about 72% voted, so give it maybe another 20 seconds. Let everybody give a chance to get their response in, and then we can do the second one.
Sounds good. If you're joining us a little late, we just launched a poll with a couple of questions. We'll be displaying those results here in just a moment. And then we're gonna share a little bit of information about why we're pulling this conversation together before we introduce our panelists.
And I apologize for being late. I got stuck on a phone call from PCC that I've been trying to figure some stuff out.
No worries, no worries. This is gonna be we have a presentation, so you'll have time to ask questions at the end, Jen. Thank you. So I see that we have our results of our poll, and it looks like 71% of you have an idea that you're currently working on. 29% of you are joining to learn more and hopefully be inspired by something that you hear today. And what stage are you in your company? 63% of you are in concept, 29% in seed, and 21% in growth. I would imagine that with our 4 panelists, you're gonna learn tips, tricks, resources, and nuggets of information that'll help you get to that next step. And hopefully you'll be able to realize by the end of today, everyone who has a good idea has an opportunity to reach their full potential. So I'm going to take us to the next slide. So as a nonprofit workforce development board, we are in a space that is really about helping people recognize their full potential. And where we are right now in the midst of these challenging times and unprecedented change, we are thinking about new ways of stimulating growth in our economy. And so I wanted to share a couple of slides. I'm going to share a couple of slides with you all from our partners at Greater Portland, Inc. and Bridge Economic Development Consulting. They put these together for a recent economic development plan, and I just wanted to showcase how Portland measures up to some communities of similar size. So this one shows that we have fairly weak small business growth and scaling. So how do we help people, small entrepreneurs, micro business, get to that next level of growth? And you can see on the right column, we hover around 1%. So what we want to be is as competitive as possible with retaining and growing and advancing talent. Next slide. And this shows that we're in a world of disruption. So we know that there are a lot of different size companies that exist within our Portland metro area and our state. In Clackamas, we hover around 80% small to medium-sized companies. And when we look at this, and this is for the Tri-County metro area, we know it's our smaller organizations that are going to be most susceptible for these disruptions, whether it's the pandemic, wildfires, automation, and other technologies. We have to be thinking about new ways to keep a competitive edge in our labor market. Next slide. And we pale we pale to our peers in venture capital investment. So you can see that we're about 39 based on metropolitan statistical areas similar to our size across the country. And as a world rank, we're about 55. So as a community across our region, we have some work to do. And certainly in Clackamas County, we want to be as helpful as we possibly can for our innovators, inventors, and entrepreneurs. Next slide. You'll also see that our Oregon business applications, as compared to our partners or our peers or our neighbors to the north, we have a pretty flat line of business applications. We'd like to see that starting to trend upward. I noticed a couple of questions come through, a little fuzzy on the goal. You'll definitely be hearing from some venture capitalists as well as those connectors to venture capitalists and Small Business Development Center. The idea for this call is to really make sure that you are equipped with the information and resources that are available to you. And I'll let one of our panelists define venture capital. Next slide. In a similar conversation that was hosted in the Beaverton area, 1,900 people attended, and this was just a few months ago. So we know that people have ideas, and we need to create a nurturing environment for those ideas. Next slide. And this is just our last slide. We know that opportunity does not mean is not accessible to all people. And so we have opportunity issues and lack of. So what we want to make sure is that our Black, Indigenous, and people of color are realizing their full potential and have as much access to economic mobility as their our white counterparts. Next slide. So now I'm going to introduce our panelists, and what we're going to do is each panelist has 6 minutes to share a little bit more about themselves, their organization, what they do in the community, and resources that are available through them. And I'm going to start by introducing Laura Kupciak. I know I'm saying that wrong. I apologize, Laura.
That's okay, Kubitschek.
Kubitschek. She's an Oregon venture capitalist. Thank you so much for joining us, Laura. I will also be introducing Carmen Madrid, who is the Regional Business Development Manager with Micro Enterprise Services of Oregon, or MISO. Thank you, Carmen, for joining us. Carrie Naoni is here with TIE Oregon. She is the Executive Director of TIE. And the reason that we're pulling this conversation together. So thank you so much, Carrie. And last but certainly not least, Rob Campbell is the director of our Small Business Development Center at Clackamas Community College. So we're going to give them a virtual round of applause. And I'm going to kick it over to Laura to begin our panel presentation.
All right, Bridget, thank you very much. I think the first thing I want to clear up is my title is Venture Catalyst instead of capitalist. So unfortunately, well, venture capitalists have lots of money that they invest in startups. Unfortunately, I don't have any money, but what I do is try to catalyze entrepreneurs and help them start up and scale up. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my role in just a second. So next slide. Okay, next. Oh, that's kind of tiny. I'm going to put my glasses on. I believe I know what I'm saying here, but all right. So what I do as a venture catalyst, and I'm part of a network, and there's a half a dozen of us across the state of Oregon. What we do is we partner with regional economic development organizations. It could be at the county level or at the city level. And the way I classify is we're boots on the street. So we meet one-on-one with entrepreneurs. We'll coach and mentor. Our focus is scalable traded sector companies. And so if people aren't familiar with traded sector, it means that you have a product or a service that either has a national or international market. If you're just focusing on someone locally, like you have a local air conditioning business or something like that, then I'm probably not the right resource, but I will direct you to the right resource, because the other role I play is a connector. So what I try to do, in addition to my own coaching and mentoring, I try to connect entrepreneurs to people who might be either additional mentors, people that have subject matter expertise in what they're doing. Programs like TIE Oregon, for example, has a wonderful Excel boot camp, and it's a great way for entrepreneurs to go through a boot camp and learn how to really become an entrepreneur and start a business. Or capital. And so someone asks, what's venture capital? So venture capital is when you work with, you might hear the term VC companies. Basically, they're going to give you money, and in return for that, they're going to take a piece or an equity position in your company. So, you know, that's basically the trade-off. So that's an equity, that's an equity capital, as opposed to debt capital, which would be going to a bank and getting loans, or through MISO. And I'm sure I'm looking at Carmen, and I'm sure she will add more to this. Okay, let me keep going. So in addition to working directly with entrepreneurs, since we're a statewide network, we will try to take the resources that are available to us throughout Oregon. So if somebody, say in Medford, needs to be connected to somebody up in Portland, we help make those connections. And the other thing, and at the beginning of it, Bridget talked about diversity and inclusivity. We really want to make sure, again, as venture catalysts, when we're meeting one-on-one with entrepreneurs, we're giving everyone the opportunity. So some people don't always have the networks to connect into the broader entrepreneurial ecosystem. That is really my job. My job is to make those connections. And as I like to say, change your trajectory and help you grow your business faster. And our end goal is, you know, more companies launched, more companies founded, and more jobs created. Okay, next slide. So this slide also summarizes some of the work that I do. Again, I already talked about supporting startups. Another thing that I do in the region is manage what we call pub talks. So basically, they used to be at a pub or Golden Valley Brewery, but we've had to move everything online, as everyone has. But it's providing panels or educational opportunities for people to learn more about how to manage their business. We also look for gaps in the infrastructure, whether if you're a food company and there's not enough commercial kitchens, or you know, you need wet lab space and there's not enough, then I'll work with local government to help that. And then final slide. Oh, I have two more, but I'll be fast. Okay, so, and this is just to show you how we fit into the ecosystem. So again, I'm focused on scalable traded sector startups. You're familiar with SBDC. They tend to, this isn't a strict rule, they tend to focus more on Main Street and service businesses. Your economic development people in the counties or in the cities tend to focus on retention, expansion, and recruitment. So I fit this gap, basically working with early stage companies and again, helping them start up and scale. And now final slide. Yes, so this is just we like to say it's our slide of happy faces. So these are the venture catalysts scattered around the state. My region is Washington County, but I'm happy to be here as part of this conversation. Consider me as a resource for all of you as well. And I'm happy to make connections and put you in the right direction. So thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Laura. We're going to move on to Carmen.
Okay, hello everyone. Thank you for getting my slides here together, Bridget. I'm Carmen Madrid and I am with MISO Micro Enterprise Services of Oregon. So it's not the soup, but we do have a lot of goodies here for you. So next slide, please. Okay, next. Okay, so our mission is really to elevate and empower historically excluded and under-resourced entrepreneurs. How do we do this? With tailored business assistance and flexible capital to build family wealth through small business ownership. This is the dream. So our inspiration, this is our new anthem, and we really wanted to put this out there because these are really the businesses we work with. You know, here's to the ones behind the counters, the dreamers, the cleaners, the ones who serve us food, cut our hair, watch our children and our parents. They dared. These are the small businesses we encounter every single day to support our lives. You can't ignore them because they are the breath, the heartbeat, and the rhythm of our community. Our neighborhood businesses, the giants, the trailblazers, and the catalysts for our progressive future. So that's a little bit of a sense and feel of what MISO is all about. Next slide, please. Our vision and history was really founded on a very simple notion that business ownership can restore the financial footing of individuals, and disenfranchised communities that we have seen over and over again try to succeed but don't have the tools necessary in order to make things happen. So we're responsive, we want to be accessible, and they need affordable capital and resources. We started as a grassroots company in 2005. We've recently, continued to expand and grow, and I'll share with you our service area here shortly. We have moved in areas responsive to the needs of the business community. Due to gentrification that has happened, we've continued to expand in those areas where we feel that the most disenfranchised have been affected. Our values are surrounded by diversity, inclusion, and equity. I can't tell you how much I love working there because I feel like we are the people that we serve. We feel like we have effective and innovative services. We provide hope and empowerment. There's integrity and frugality in the way that we do our work. And last but not least, that reverence for human dignity. It's sometimes, a person has been denied over and over and over again as a business. And we want to make sure that as MISO, we're giving them those tools so that they feel that they could move to that next step and feel like they can succeed. Next slide, please. So this is where we serve. Just briefly, we are now in all the Tri-County areas, including Vancouver, Washington. We started in Portland, we moved to Beaverton, Washington County. You can see how really the gentrification patterns is how we grew. And then we went to Gresham actually, and then Clackamas County, and then now with the city of Vancouver. So local partnerships are utilized for rural small business support. And, we have, whether it's, local funding, city funding, county funding, we really try to leverage all of that and private funding to build a strong program for our clients. Next slide. So our key pillars is really, it's community development and social justice. And, community development, meaning that, we want to provide economic development in these low and moderate income communities because that's where the support is really needed. We want to provide employment and livelihood. So if you're not a business owner, probably a business owner is hiring someone. And, honestly, it's the small business that carries the tax base for a majority of Oregon. I think it's like 80%. So that's a huge contribution in terms of how effective and how strong the small business community is. And also to create local power, for these communities so that they do have a voice. Social justice is embedded in the work that we do. We look at racial equity and gender equity. And in fact, our racial equity lens in terms of the percentage that we service is 80%, BIPOC communities. And for gender equity, it's over 60%. So we want to make sure that we're continuing, to support these areas and communities that don't necessarily have access to these services. Next slide. So without going through all the detail here, because that looks like my clock is saying that was 5 minutes already. we have all of these services. You can join one of our Info Connect sessions to learn more, but we have classes, market research, long-term consulting, social media. During the course of COVID, we've pivoted over, 40 clients. We've built 15 websites. I mean, it just, we're really there for the client. We will walk with you hand in hand through these programs. We have an IDA individual development account I just want to touch on, and that is basically a 3-to-1 match grant. And this was even before COVID that we have access to this resource. Basically, as a client, you can save $1,000 and we match you $3,000. You get to do that 3 times, meaning that you will have $9,000 of grant funding for every, the $3,000 that you save. Again, it's a grant, it's not a loan. Next slide, please. And then all of our lending products. So obviously I'm not going to have time to go through all of these things. I'm happy for anyone to join our Information Connect session to learn more about these products. But we have a credit building loan up to 100 that is available to anybody in the community. It is a commercial product, all the way to startup debt financing, term loans. Our largest loan has been up to $500,000 with an average loan of about between 10 to 15,000, which is normally what businesses need to scale to the next level. So I'm sorry I don't have a chance to kind of go through all these products, but I'm happy to invite you to more of what MISO has to offer. Next slide. I think that was it. Yep.
So much, Carmen. We did have one question in the chat box that I think would make sense to answer not right now. Jewel asked, how are you defining gentrification?
Gentrification in terms of, we originally started in the northeast area of Portland. And, what has happened, what we have seen is that because of the development that's happened out there, it's really pushed a lot of people and they cannot no longer afford to live, work, and play there. And so that they have had to go outside of this, the Portland area in order to thrive if they can. So that's really what we're looking at in terms of geography. But I'm happy to speak to you more on that.
Thank you, Carmen. For the other questions, feel free to keep them coming. We're going to be keeping track of the questions and make sure that we include them in the Q&A. Right now, we're going to move on to Carrie.
Hi, everybody. I'm Carrie Naoni. I'm the Executive Director of TIE Oregon. I'm so happy to have you all here with us today. I'm here to just give you a little bit more information about what TIE Oregon can provide to startups in the area. Next slide, please. So who are we? We are a local chapter of a global organization whose mission is to foster entrepreneurship, and we do that through one-on-one mentorship, programming, and in some cases, angel investment. And on the screen here, you can see the number of programs that we provide throughout the year. I'm just going to touch on a few of them today, but please reach out to us if you have further questions. Next slide, and we'll go through a couple of our most popular programs. As Laura mentioned a little bit ago, I think one of our most popular and most valuable programs is the TIE Excel Entrepreneur Bootcamp. This is a 30 hours worth of workshops. Individuals get together twice a week for 3 hours per session, and we go over topics that are basically pretty crucial for entrepreneurs to understand before they start their business. One of the things that TIE really believes in is making sure that your idea and your concept is going to be a viable option for you to pursue before you spend money to produce an app, hire developers to create your app, before you start tapping into your retirement funds to create a company. We can teach you tips and tricks to find out if there is a market for what you are hoping to bring to market per se. So we've had great success. Next slide. With the TIE Excel Entrepreneur Bootcamp, as you can see, we've had several people here and the whole basis of the bootcamp is to get individuals to a place where they can then start qualifying to start pitching their ideas for angel investment, or start pitching their ideas to get accepted into accelerators and incubators throughout the state, or to even just start doing pitch competitions, which is a really just great way to start marketing your venture. So we've had really great success with TiExcel Entrepreneur Bootcamp. There's a lot of ways that we go about paying for the Excel Bootcamp through grants that we are able to acquire from state and federal funding. So if you are interested in the TiExcel Bootcamp, please reach out. We have one going on right now. The next bootcamp will start in February. Next slide, please. We have an annual pitch competition. This is where 10 companies pitch for a prize package of services that they need, such as legal services, accounting services, and the like, marketing services, and also cash. So we'll give away $5,000 on December 1st. You can see the 2019 winners below on the screen. Unfortunately, this year we're going to have to do this virtually, but it is our largest event of the year, and it's just a fun way to celebrate all of the startups that are happening in the area. Next slide. Mentor Connect, what we hear time and time again is successful entrepreneurs really rely on their network, and they really rely on somebody that they can trust and have one-on-one conversations with about, you know, maybe stuff that they don't quite understand. And so we really do, what we try to do is really foster the relationships between the entrepreneurs and the mentors that we have within our membership, to make sure that those entrepreneurs are getting answers to the questions that they have in a very safe environment for them to move forward. We are a global organization, and so we have currently, locally, we have about 80 current local mentors, but we have thousands worldwide. So we're in all industries, all functions of entrepreneurship. And you can see on the screen just some of our friendly advisors there waiting to help. Next slide. As mentioned, and in some cases, we have angel investment available to entrepreneurs. You can see on the slide here just a glimpse of the over 60, I think it's about 65 companies that we've invested in so far since 2010. We see pitches about every 6 weeks, and we invest in about 6 to 10 companies per year. The average investment is about $125,000 to $250,000, with add-ons up to $700,000. What's great about our program is that we are also partnered with several funds within the area. So not only do you get the opportunity to get in front of our angel investors, but you also get the ability to have access to other funds such as Portland Seed Fund, Oregon Angel Network, Elevate Fund, and others. So these are our typical investment is traded sector companies, which Laura touched on, which are, you know, companies that have a global or international marketplace or competitors. And we are typically looking for very high scalable companies in the technology and or technology enabled, and are technology enabled. Okay, next slide. And here's just a look at who we've invested in the past. So primarily, again, it's tech-enabled. We've got a lot of money going into med tech and SaaS companies. That's software as a service, if you're not aware. But again, we can help pretty much any industry. Okay, yeah, so we've invested a total of $13.4 million. I think that was from August. Next slide. 3 important insights I will say in starting a business is before you start, validate, which is why the TiExcel Entrepreneur Bootcamp is just a really great program to go through, because it gives you some really great tools to make sure that you're validating your idea. Again, before you go out and spend a whole lot of money on it, let's make sure that this is something that's needed in the marketplace and is needed and at a cost that will you know, make you a for-profit company, not a non-for-profit company. So let's make sure that whatever you're providing to the marketplace is something that people will pay so that you can make a profit. Build your network. There's a lot of organizations that do networking events. TiE Oregon is just one of them. Laura puts on pub talks about every other month, where you can network and build folks that can help you. I know it's hard with COVID, but there are some creative ways that people are able to network online. So please reach out to me if you'd like to learn more about other organizations that are doing networking events. And then don't be afraid to ask. As you can see, we're all here today to offer insights and resources available to you as you start your business. It's so important. Again, what we hear time and time again is mentorship is just forefront in people's mind when they're starting a business. And so don't be afraid to ask for help. Our mentors per se are successful entrepreneurs who ask for help and therefore now are returning the favor and are giving those insights to the entrepreneurs. So don't be afraid to ask for help, validate your concept before starting, and build your network. And I think that's all I have.
Thank you
But
so
happy
much.
to answer questions.
Thank you so much, Carrie. Again, if you have questions that are coming to mind, feel free to add them into the chat feature and we'll make sure to ask them when we get to the Q&A portion. And now I'm going to give the floor to Rob.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for having me on this panel. I'm glad to see there's such a great turnout. My name's Rob Campbell, and I'm the director of the Small Business Development Center. And I know a lot of people on this call have never heard of a Small Business Development Center. I know that I was in Portland for about 20 years, and I'd never heard of SBDCs that. So I want to talk a little bit about who we are and what kind of resources are available to all the people that are on this call. Next slide, please. The SBDC network was set up by Congress in the 1980s. Most of you are too young to been around in the early 80s in Oregon, but if you thought the financial crisis in 2008 was bad, early 80s was worse. Unemployment double, triple digits, interest rates 18%, no federal support for money. I had 23 large clients at that time. 21 of them went bankrupt, and they'd all been in business over 20 years. And so there's about, at that time, there was about 26 million small businesses as defined by the Small Business Administration of having less than 500 employees. And so Congress said, well, we're going to have to support the small business community. And at that time, the larger corporations were going offshore chasing low-cost labor. And so they set up the SBDC network through the SBA, and we are funded. We have contracts with SBA and with Business Oregon. And our network headquarters is in Lane. Next slide, please. We think we have the most efficient business education distribution system in the state of Oregon. And the reason I say that, we have 19 centers located around Oregon. 17 of us are affiliated with community colleges. We have 2 with universities. We have about 140 people in our network at 43 different locations in all rural areas. And then we have 3 centers in Metro, PCC, Mount Hood, and of course Clackamas. And I represent the Clackamas, but we all have different programs to help people regardless of what kind of business that they're in. I saw some people that answered some of the questions earlier that they're actually in food and they've got an idea about food. PCC's got an excellent program called Recipe to Market that they've had for a long time. A lot of people take it. Our focus is on the next slide. We have a vision at our center to create joy and wealth for new business owners. And if it's between those goalposts, we do it. And we have different programs to help people do all of this. We have found people are more joyful if they have a little money in their pocket. And we personally believe that everybody in this country should have a small business. And if you don't have a bigger business, maybe you need a side hustle. But I encourage everybody to at least stick their foot into the business development. So we have different programs. And when I say programs, I'm talking about classes and workshops and events. And we teach a going into business workshop every month. It's the first Thursday of the month. It's from 6:30 to 9:30. And it's for all these people that contact our SBDC network in Clackamas and says, hey, I'm thinking about starting a business. How do I start? Before the pandemic, we were serving about 1,200 clients a year. Half of them wanted to start a business, half of them have the existing business. And we have programs for both categories. So when I say a program, the workshops, classes, and events are really to give you some content. We find a lot of people that want to start a business, they have an idea, or they're working for someone else, and they might have domain expertise. They might have a skill and a craft. They might be really good. They've been working for somebody else for a long time, but now they want to start their own personal enterprise. They know nothing about business. And they think, hey, I've been working for this person for a long time. Why don't I just start my own business and I'll make more money? Well, that's a good idea, but it's very important to get some content, because once you know, a lot of people, they don't know what they don't know. And then all of a sudden something happens, says, well, now I know I don't know. And our goal is to get you up to a point where you know what you know. Business is easy if you know what to do and how to do it. And so content, and it's available all over the place, is important to get. But our value proposition in the SBDC network is that we take that content and we put it into context for you wherever you are in business, whether you're concept, seed, or have already started, by offering one-on-one business advising at no cost to you. And we have found context is really much more important than just the content. So we have this workshop for people that are thinking about it. And then for people that really want a feasibility process, I say process, think of it as like a recipe. James Beard said it the best. If you want to have good bread, start with a good bread recipe first. And so we have a recipe for people that, hey, I've got a great idea, but I need to make sure that it's feasible before I enter the marketplace. And so you need to answer 3 questions. So what? Who cares? Why choose you? And we have a workshop for this. It's a 10-week workshop. It's a couple $100. And it's really to flesh out what your market is, how you're going to differentiate it, how you're going to price it. And the goal at that time is to flesh, at the end of the 10-week process, is to have a business model that you can create a prototype and take it to the marketplace and see if you can sell it. And if you can sell it, and then you can get some traction into a channel, you can get all the funding that you need to grow your business. Our next phase is we call Greenhouse. It's entrepreneurship. It's 16 weeks, 3 hours a week. And we teach it twice a year. And it's based on Thomas Jones' business model. He worked with 2,000 businesses over a 25-year period to build this model. Had over 600 startups and very few involuntary failures. And I was actually hired by the college in the fall of 2011 to teach this class. And I taught it for over 3 years. I finally found somebody that's a lot better at it than I am. And he teaches going into business, so what, who cares, and also our greenhouse model. Ironically, half the people that take the greenhouse class already have a business. They probably should have taken that before they started it. And our next thing is we have a contractor program. We've worked really hard. We have a contract. We have an intergovernmental agency agreement with the State Construction Contractors Board. We actually do a 16-hour class in English and in Spanish. We're the only provider in the state that can teach and test. We have started 143 new businesses this year. And 98% of them are contractors, and 90% of them are Latino contractors. We're the lead Latino SBDC in the state. Next slide, Brian. I just talked about this a little bit. We do have a guided pathway, so we teach fundamentals. So once they get certification, we help them get licensed. And We also have a class to teach them fundamentals, and then we have a 9-month contractor program. We have an entrepreneurship program that's a 16 weeks. We have a 9-month contractor program. We have a 9-month succession and transition class, mostly focused on farmers within Clackamas County, but we have farmers now from all over the state that take our classes, and we have people that take our contractor class. Yeah. So next step. Next slide. There we go. Contact information. We have a website that supports the 19 SBDCs around the state. So some of you, I heard some of you are not located in the metro area. You can go to this OregonSBDC.org, find the center that is in your area, and put down, there's a contact page on there, and you can reach out to our center for more information about classes and counseling. That's the end.
Rob, all panelists did an amazing job, both with content as well as giving us nuggets of information. I'm going to ask whoever, there's some background. If folks put their phones if they're not talking. All right, there we go. So we're going to get started on the Q&A portion. I was keeping track of questions in the chat feature, so I'm going to start at the top and work our way down. I also have a few questions of my own that I might be able to slide in there. If you have additional questions that you want to add to the chat feature, please make sure to do so. So we're going to start with the first one, and I'm going to throw this out to the whole group. And I also wanted to just say that entrepreneurial skills transcend industry and occupation. So if a small business ends up not being the thing that that you get to, I can guarantee that there are businesses and employers that are looking for the skill sets that make an entrepreneur. So I wanted to throw that out there at the workforce development professional in me. So first question is from Nicole. What about people with disabilities? They often get let out, and it is very sad. If it's not mentioned, it's not intentional. And so could anyone speak a bit about programs and resources available or services available to people with disabilities?
I mean, I can speak on behalf of MISO is that, you know, our space is, you know, we embrace diversity. So, you know, it is a space that everyone is welcome. And depending on, you know, our programs are income qualified. So eventually we will take a look at that. However, you know, we want to make sure that if you walk in through the doors of MISO or a virtual chat here these days, you will leave with some resources to get going on your business.
Bridget, I give a real quick story. I had, when I was actually teaching our entrepreneurship program, the greenhouse class, I had a client that had been hurt very badly in an automobile accident. She was in a wheelchair. And the reason that she came and took this class is that she wanted to take her expertise, something that she was really good at before she had her accident, and then try to figure out how she could start her own personal enterprise. Anyway, the long and the short of it, she went through that class and she wanted to start a tutoring business. And she was really good before that happened. And so she actually did that to start that tutoring business and to get some money to make her house an actual work classroom that was highly functional for her, and she's extremely successful.
Excellent, thank you, Rob. And it looks like we did get a message from Robin in the chat feature that she works at a location where they support employment choices and people with disabilities. So make sure to check out that link that she shared. I'm going to move on to the next question. And this is from Joy. Could someone realistically work towards the goal of starting a business or venture while continuing to work? Or does starting need to be a full-time venture?
I want to answer that, Bridget. Don't quit your day job. whatever you do. And I always tell people, don't make your hobby into a business. You'll do two things. You'll screw up a great hobby and you won't make any money. I want you to think this is where you need to get some content, and you need to really go through a process about getting a business model put together with a value proposition, and then do a rapid prototyping and take it to the marketplace. And to follow that, and you can keep working. We have a lot of people that keep working, and then and go through that process to develop, and then they start out part-time. And then eventually, once they get some traction, they'll get enough money, then they can quit their day job and then make it. So I feel very strongly about that. I also feel very strongly that you have to have an aptitude and an interest in being a business person. It's better if you have some high domain expertise. You have to have some skill level that's really good, and then you can turn that into a business.
Thank you, Rob.
I think I would like to just echo what Rob's saying in a sense. A lot of times people will use their day job to bootstrap until they can get to that scalability phase. Once they've validated again how important it is to go out, talk to your prospective customers, build an MVP, get the traction you need, and then at that time, once you start having some meaningful conversations with investors, if you need, they will ultimately expect you to put full-time effort into the venture, but use your day job to, put some skin in the game, which investors like to see as well. You are using, you're kind of, really working hard to get through that bootstrap phase and validating your idea. And then, once you get to a certain point, yes, you will probably need to show the investors that you're 100% committed to the venture.
Thank you, Carrie. And I did want to make a quick plug, and I think Amanda can add some information in the chat feature. If you're currently on unemployment insurance, there's a program called self-employment assistance, or self-employment assistance, which is a program through the unemployment insurance where you can collect UI without having to go and do the job search. And I know right now the job search is we're freed up from doing that. But in a traditional, in a typical, on a typical day or year without the pandemic, there are expectations about job search with unemployment insurance assistance. So if you're on UI, be sure to check out the information about SEA. If you have any questions about that, we'll make sure to get somebody who can connect those. We'd be happy to help connect those dots. The next comment from Laura, I'm in Columbia County and hoping that I can gain some connections for some of these awesome resources in her area. So does anyone, some of your programs did touch Columbia County. Could anyone address that particular comment?
Yeah, if she went to our website that I mentioned and look at the centers, you'll see all the 19 SBD centers around the state. So like I mentioned, we're like in 43 different locations. Just find the SBDC center that's closest to you, and there'll be a contact page on there. You can just reach out through that way, put your information in.
And the other thing I'd like to add to that is, especially in this climate of COVID, so many of the resources now are putting all of their classes online. So I would encourage you to just kind of, look around, or if you hear some of the resources that we're talking about, I mean, it's likely that you'll be able to find all the classes or webinars and things like that online. So it doesn't matter where you live.
Actually, Laura, that's a great point. I should have mentioned, when the governor education lockdown happened in March, me and my entire staff, there's 11 of us in our center at Clackamas, have been locked out, and we haven't been back. So since March 20th, but we have clients now all over the state take our classes, particularly contractors and small farm in our greenhouse program.
I just wanted to add also that MISO has actually have taken many SEA clients, primarily because they really don't want to go back to work. And so the evidence that they have to show as part of the SEA program is that they are intentfully building their business. One of the things that they would require is a business plan. And so they seek resources like the folks here in the panel to say, okay, how do I build my business plan and my marketing plan? So that's what their deliverables are in an SEA program. It's not showing, oh, I went to 5 interviews this week that I really don't want to get hired for, you know, like that. So it was a really good way of people to transition, especially during these times. And so we've worked with a lot of SEA clients. Just wanted to put that out there.
Carmen, thank you so much for answering that. That was a fantastic response. Joy asks, what is the price of the boot camp? And I believe she asked that to Carrie or anyone else who mentioned that they have a boot camp.
Yeah, I did answer that in the chat, but it's typically $750, but we do have scholarships available. So, and those are typically available for women and minority entrepreneurs. So reach out to me for more detail.
And if you get connected with WorkSource Clackamas and the workforce development system, there are, when you start working with workforce development, there are resources available for training opportunities and connections with businesses. And because we're getting into the space of entrepreneurship and micro enterprise, we're thinking about starting a boot camp in this next year or expanding what that might look like. So more information to come, especially to those who've registered, and we have your email addresses. So I'm going to move to the next question. Brett asks, in relation to validating data with that Carrie mentioned, do you have any general tips or good overall go-to resources in accessing relevant data that can be a little bit more difficult to get your hands on?
Yeah, I'll just quickly answer that. Miso has a great product called MarketLink that Carmen can touch on, but it just really goes back to the way that you validate your idea is to start talking to people and have some really good questions that will validate why you are doing it and is it going to be valid in the marketplace. So I think that the good old tip and trick is go out there and talk to someone other than your spouse or your brother or your sister who's going to tell you it's a great idea anyways. Like, sit down, get some good questions down on paper, do some real customer interviews, and find out if the problem that you are trying to solve is something that people want you to solve at a price point that is going to make you a profit. So it's really just, it kind of comes down to good old communication. Go out and talk to people about your idea and get feedback, honest feedback about the problem that you're trying to solve.
Yeah, I can't emphasize that enough. I was writing down like the 3 tips or so that I would share with you. I mean, one is focus, because it's so easy to say you'll be all things to all people. But my second one was talk to customers and get the feedback, and echoing what Carrie's just saying. Don't just talk to your friends. You need to go talk to some strangers and validate. I think, you know, everyone's mentioning this. You need to validate that the market is indeed interested. And if at some point you're going to be looking for funds, the funders are going to ask you about this market validation. So, and it's best to do it early in the process, because that way you don't spend a lot of time and energy and money, you know, sort of heading down the wrong path. So be flexible as you get the feedback, and you might need to shift a little bit.
I did want to thank you for for those responses. I did want to tell all of our audience members, we will be sending out the link to the recording as well as the PowerPoint presentation in the next couple of weeks once we're able to get that worked out. So you will be receiving this information for future reference, and we'll also be sharing it on our website. We're going to move to the next question. Joy asks, when and where are the first Thursday going on into business events? Somebody mentioned a first Thursday.
Oh, I did mention a going into business, a free workshop for people that are thinking about starting a business. If you go to that website that I've been It's https:/Oregon SBDC. Find the Clackamas Center. And once you get onto the Clackamas Center, there's a list of classes that are available. And that workshop is will be listed there. And there will be a distinct URL there that you click on and you can register for it at no cost. And then you will be sent some information about how to join that class virtually.
Can I say something? Thank you everyone for this meeting. Unfortunately, my computer screen keeps blinking, gets black. It looks like my computer is breaking down. But I would like to ask the question, can we have all this information that we have gotten in this meeting in writing? And the chats, you know, you guys been sharing information in the chat, but unfortunately, like I said, my screen keeps blanking off, so I can't copy the information on the chat. Can you help me with that?
Oh, absolutely, Anna. We'll be sending the video of this the recording of this event, as well as the PowerPoint slides and any relevant resources that were shared in the chat feature. And if you have any questions, you can contact us at Clackamas Workforce Partnership in the meantime, but we'll certainly be sending it out to all of the attendees.
I have a question really quick about that. There's a save chat feature. So is anyone able to save that and then just email it over to her so she can just read through it also?
Yeah, we can have Amanda do that. Thank you so much for that recommendation.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We have a question about, do you offer assistance with writing a business plan?
I can answer that. So basically, you know, MISO does provide as part of their services in writing business plans, whether you're a startup or an ongoing business that needs to expand your program. So amongst the other programs that we do have as part of building your business plan, I'll speak a little bit about MarketLink. That's what Carrie mentioned in terms of data and research for your business. MarketLink is a proprietary product to MISO, and what we do is we take industry-related information specific to your business, and we will give you the demographics of who's buying your product, the pricing, you know, what are the trends that are happening. And actually, the most recent market analysis that I've seen in the last couple of days are now addressing COVID. You know, what is COVID expecting? How long will this industry take in order to turn around? So really very specific information so that you can create informed decisions for your business, whether it's expansion. Quick story, there's a lotion business that actually wanted to expand her business. And she said, Carmen, where should I expand? The market analysis report actually mentioned that she needed to do perfumed house cleaning. And we're like, what? You're going to create cleaning products? And so the psychology around that in marketing is the demographic that was targeting her lotion, which was between $40 to $50, were women over, you know, between 40 to 50 years old that had the discretionary income to purchase that product. Those women feel guilty buying something for themselves. So when they buy a household cleaning product, they're able to justify that purchase. That vendor has now sold 2 products. So it was really interesting, and we kind of launched it that direction, and her sales and her expansion went the way the market was demanding. So that's just one example of many. And if I may, really quickly, and this is more of a public service announcement, there's a Metro Region grant that's out right now. MISO is facilitating, we've facilitated over $1.1 million worth of grants out there. So I wanted businesses that are in businesses that have been affected by COVID to please check out our website, and hopefully you can apply for those grants. I'll put it in the chat here, but I just wanted to insert that as something I think all of you should know about.
Carmen, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm thinking of all of these other potential resources, so we'll make sure to package some information and get that out to all of the registrants. Next, there's another question. Are we supposed to only work with one of these 4 amazing resources? I am I'm gonna say no, but if anyone else wants to offer some additional information to that.
Yeah, I would say no, absolutely not. We all have complementary programs, and I think not every organization is going to fit for you. So try all of us out, or just have a conversation with all of us one-on-one. I think what you'll find is that we will hand you off to our trusted partners on the panel, and we have even more resources available. So I think what's great about the Portland metro area is the organizations are really starting to work and function together as a team. Because we recognize that there's so much work to be done, and there's so many people trying to start businesses, that we want you to be successful. So we will hand you off to trusted partners.
Excellent. And I know that someone did say some of these programs are geographically based, but for folks that are mobile, most of these resources are available to folks throughout the Portland metro region in Oregon, correct?
Yes, all of our classes are distance delivery. They're not just online. They are teleconferenced. They're Zoom classes. And like I mentioned, we have small farmer ranchers from all over the state take our small farm succession transition class. And then I have contractors from all over the state of Oregon take our English contractor certification program.
Our lending program is statewide, so we have serviced across the state of Oregon. And so that's just in terms of our lending. And right now we actually do have a product right now that's called 40/60, which means that 40% of that lending is forgivable over the life of that loan. So that's just a product that's starting to roll out for the businesses that we serve.
And next question is from Courtney. Can the panelists speak more to available resources for businesses that is already up and going but seeking more growth and mentorship?
As I mentioned earlier, we have programs for both. We have, if you're already in business and you are wanting to scale and grow, we have a small business management program that focuses on people that have been in business. And we have some clients in there that have been in business for like 25 years and are in that class. So yes, we have them. It's called Growth Wheel Small Business Management, and it's under the Clackamas SBDC website.
So I can speak to MISO's long-term program. You would be, if you're interested and you have cash flow in your business at this time and you wanted to expand, of course, eligibility and geography will matter on your qualification. But we would be able to take you in. You would have a coach one-on-one with you for over 3 years. And you would be enrolled in the IDA program, which is the grant match program, as well as all of the business resources like classes and workshops and things like that. And you would just be part of that network. So we do have that in terms of scaling your business. And scaling is subjective, right? I mean, so, you know, if someone wants to maybe scale and say, I just want enough to retire. I just want to be comfortable. I'm not trying to be like a big multi-million-dollar business. Or I get someone that, you know, I worked with for 5 years, and at the end of, you know, three to 5 years, he's grossing 70 million in his construction business. So, you know, scaling will be defined based on how you want to grow.
And the other thing that I would add for those that have ventures that are, I guess, more the high growth, Carrie and I don't want to put her on the line, but Carrie and I are going to be working on a resource guide. And it's really all about just connecting you to the right resources. So I just totally embrace what Carmen's just saying in terms of there's different levels of scaling. And so depending on what you need, then we can probably help point you in in the right direction. So I just was going to add that as well. And that should be out in a couple of months, I hope.
This is great. We have a question. Do you have people who know about online sales and marketing business, FBA?
So we just recently launched, after when COVID hit, we actually launched a series on digital marketing and how to put your sales online and e-commerce. It started from branding all the way to building your website to live sales from, whether it's your social media or, really getting your platform out there so that you're visible. There's also a lot of platforms that are available right now where you sign up on that platform, you deliver your products and services there, and they will sell it for you. In a lot of local things that are happening right now. So you don't have to go the Amazon route, which is kind of scary, because you're competing in a larger market. You can actually compete in shop local PDX types of organizations, and people locally will be buying your products if that's the direction you want it to go.
So where again do we connect with that? That sounds just what I would like to do. Who should I be connecting with?
What I could do is I can put our registration for our InfoConnect session, or I can send that to you, Bridget, for everyone to have access to. And if you'd like to learn more in-depth services about MISO, then you can attend that. We actually have a session happening this coming Monday at 6 o'clock. So hopefully we'll see some of you there.
Okay.
And Carmen, if you want to add that to the chat feature right now, we'll also make sure that it gets out in the email.
Sure.
So I have a question that I want to ask. If each of the panelists could share a success story and timeline for the audience. So the start of a process for business to start up to, kind of getting into the market. Could anyone talk about, could each of you share a success story?
I'll share one real quick. We had a client that was in the military. By the way, the Clackamas SBDC is the Veterans Lead Center. I'm a vet, and we have special programs for veterans pricing. He was a vet. He got out of the service and got into property management maintenance, and he had a chance to buy a small calibration company here in Milwaukee. It was he and his wife and 2 other employees. They were doing about $400,000 a year. He was losing about $50,000 a year and didn't owe it. And he had 3 mortgages on his house. He had high credit card debt, and he hadn't paid his payroll taxes in 6 months. And he went to a bankruptcy attorney, and he said, "You can file bankruptcy, but you won't be sleeping in the car that you drove to the office in." So he didn't have a choice, and he found the SBDC before I got there, talked to one of our advisors. Anyway, got him turned around. Last year, he was the Small Business Person of the Year for the state of Oregon. He's doing 6.3 million. He's got distribution now in all across the United States. So.
I can talk about another success story that we had about 5 years ago. Ganesh Shankar, who is the founder of RFPIO, started coming to our Thai events, and this was prior to our boot camp, but he was kind of our guinea pig, and we kind of put him through our initial curriculum, kind of one-on-one curriculum, walking him through, which ultimately he ended up in front of our angel group. They invested in him, and literally about 3-4 years later, he exited out of his company and returned a really great return to the investors, and he's just going gangbusters. And that was literally, I started 5 years ago. He was like one of my first clients, and started again just coming to our programs to really identify what was the problem he was trying to solve, how he was trying to solve it, what was the target market, how he was going to target that specific market quickly. and get the traction that he needed to entice the Thai Angel Group to invest. They invested, and again, within 3 to 4 years later, he returned all that money times, I don't even know what the return was, but it was pretty big, and they're on their merry way. So it is doable. I think one of I wish I had the quote from one of our Thai Excel boot campers, but basically they said, you know, we used to think that trying a business was just trial and error. You know, starting a business was just trial and error. And that's really not the case. If you follow a formula that we've created with the Thai Excel Bootcamp, and I think some of these other folks that are talking on the panel today, there is somewhat of a formula that will help guide you in the right direction in starting your business. And also just to recognize that sometimes that means that maybe you have to pivot a little bit, maybe you have to pivot dramatically, but it gives you kind of a guideline and some checkpoints of saying, okay, is this a viable business for me to continue on? And if not, you know, it kind of helps you save either your retirement funds or your 401k funds so you don't really overextend yourself and start a venture that's really not going to be successful.
Yeah, and that's a great success story, Terry. And I've only been doing this role a couple of years, and so I don't have any big success stories to share, but some statistics in terms of it typically, I think, takes 7 to 10 years for these traded sector companies to see an exit, and there's always exceptions, and RPIO was a great example of it being an exception. So part of it is, what's your unique value proposition in the marketplace, and is the timing right? So it's a lot of hard work, but also a bit of luck in terms of that happening. But I think that's a pretty typical, again, for more of these traded sector companies.
I guess I could speak to, you know, one of my favorite success stories, and you may have had his sushi over at U Seasons, because we work with a lot of food businesses, you know, really the everyday small businesses. He is Casey Bonzi with Origami Catering. He had he actually started out homeless. He was sleeping in his car actually for 2 years when we were working with him, and started his sushi company. January of 2014 is when he had his first loan out there with Miso. And over the course of time, you know, and our loans, the way that we do it, we're not just going to give it to you because it's there. We want you to be successful in that, because that's the #1 place where people fail in their businesses. And so, you know, over the course of 3 loans, he's only borrowed $250,000. But now his job growth is that, you know, he employs he started with 2 people, him and his wife, up to 30 employees now. He's now an $8 million revenue growth business. And what he's doing now is, you know, he has a couple of buildings that he's purchased. And we really believe that once you start purchasing land, purchasing buildings, that's when you have generational wealth. You're not renting from someone anymore and making someone else rich. He now houses 3 commercial kitchens and a manufacturing space. So we have many, many success stories that way. But really, it's these clients, somebody just needed to believe in them. Someone just needed to give them a chance. But they did the hard work, you know, and what we tell people at Miso is, I am going to go as fast as you go. You know, if you want to make me run with you, I will. But if we're going to move like slugs, we can do that too. You know, it's your pace.
So bottom line, where should I start? I hear all these wonderful ideas, and I have, you know, a huge idea as everybody else in this meeting as well. But what is the step #1? Where do I start?
I don't think I answered this part about, you know, concept businesses actualizing. So a lot of the times what I tell small businesses that are just thinking about starting a business is stop thinking about it. Get it out of your head and put it into some kind of a format, like a business plan. And what Carrie and everybody else here was saying was, you know, take a look at how viable this is in the marketplace. Sometimes you don't know until you actually start getting out there, and that's okay too. And it's important to, you know, maybe access these resources here that are on the panel and get some support that way. So I know a lot of small businesses that I meet like 10 years later, they're like, I wish I knew about these resources, you know, 10 years ago. So just reach out to all of the folks out here. I would suggest that.
We did have a question in the chat feature. What is a calibration company?
What is a calibration company?
Yes.
They actually are a company that calibrates the equipment that is used for testing a variety of things. Probably the best example I can give you, when an engineer designs a building and they have a concrete slab, that slab is probably designed and engineered at 10,000 pounds per square inch. And the concrete is mixed to make sure that it meets that criteria. And then when they get ready to pour it, they pour a sump test. It's in a container. They take that container and they take it to a machine and they break it to make sure that it's at 10,000 pounds or better. And that machine needs calibrated on a periodic basis to make sure that the tolerances are correct. And that's what it is. He is traded sector. He is export. He worked on the largest construction project in the world, which was the Panama Canal, and was calibrating that equipment. But he calibrates a whole bunch of equipment. The standards in this country have to be tested on a periodic, and the equipment that tests that is what he calibrates.
Thank you, Rob, for answering that. And we had a quick question. What does TIE stand for TIE Oregon, Carrie?
Okay, so back in the day when we first started in 1999, it used to stand for the Indus Entrepreneur, because we had folks from the Asian subcontinent, India, come over to the Bay Area to start businesses, but they were recognizing they were running into barriers such as cultural differences and language barriers that was not giving them the access to capital or mentorship. And so these Indian Americans got together after they eventually became successful with their businesses to create TIE, and they named it the Indus Entrepreneur. But as time evolved, we have expanded our mission to help all minority and women entrepreneurs.
Thank you, Carrie. We have a question from Jewel. Does anyone have guidelines for creating food products? Can you do it in your own kitchen?
No, you can't do it in your own kitchen. However, there are some rules in, I believe, Washington County, Clackamas County, that you could bake in your kitchen, but you actually have to get some licensing around that. There's some very strict guidelines. I would highly, highly suggest that before you start selling anything that's consumable, that you are actually licensed to do that, because there could be some heavy penalties around that, especially in this time of COVID. So there are resources out there. There's food innovations, there's getting your recipe to market. Those are things that you can qualify for on a scholarship basis that are available, but those are the two that I've primarily worked with for our food businesses. You can make jewelry at home. I don't think there's any rules to that.
Thank you, Carmen. So we have a few minutes left. If anyone has any follow-up questions for the panelists, otherwise I have a final question before we have a few slides to close out, but I just wanted to make sure if we could squeeze one more question in there. Anyone from the audience? Is it because the panelists have done such an amazing job answering all of the questions and sharing information? Well, I would want, my last question for each panelist, and we can take it in order of the way that you all presented. I want to know, what are you most excited to see when you meet someone with an idea or someone who wants to start a small business? What gets you excited? We'll start with Laura.
All right. So what gets me excited is the passion I see in people's eyes. So, I mean, there's going to be a lot of factors in terms of whether you're going to be successful or not. But if you have that passion and that perseverance and that flexibility, that if not this idea, then likely another idea, but I think you're quickly going to be on that path to success.
Carmen?
Sure. I think what I get excited the most is that, you know, putting that dream, that cloud, and actually making it happen. And for people to realize that it can happen, especially those that have been kind of knocked down and defeated through life, whether, you know, they've had a lot of no's in their life and have had a lot of barriers, and then they get to come to a space where someone's listening to them and that we can provide some tools to get things going. So I get just really excited. And all the ideas that are out there, I mean, people are so creative. And I really love listening to everyone's ideas. You know, we had one lady that actually, you know, she was cutting hair, but now she has a mobile unit. And can you know, she started that pre-COVID. So she's super successful right now, right? Because, you know, her storefront doesn't have to close. So, you know, just all of those amazing stories. It's just very exciting to work with small businesses and see them thrive and see generational wealth in their families that they did this. You know, there's a lot of pride and dignity in the work that these small business entrepreneurs are doing.
Excellent. I think I'm going to need that haircut contact.
Right?
Thank you.
We
Yeah, look, I haven't had a haircut. My picture is so dated.
do. Fun.
Carrie?
I guess I would say I get really inspired when people put in the true hard work that it takes to start a business, and they've got that grit and they take the feedback and they pivot and they mold and they grow, and then to see them succeed and to and after they've succeeded, to give back to that ecosystem, right? And that's what TIE is truly all about, right? So a lot of our folks that have gotten mentorship or funding through TIE end up being investors in early stage entrepreneurs. And so I just love that cycle. It just excites me over and over again, and just understanding again that these are people that did the work and listened to their mentors and were successful because of it.
Thank you, Carrie. Rob?
Well, Bridget, I know I'm supposed to give you a very positive response like all the other panelists, but I have to tell you, I think people that want to start a business are delusional. And the reason I say that, they have ideas and they say, man, I got this great idea. And then I said, well, that's great, but ideas, you can't get intellectual property on an idea. You have to take an idea and then have a practical application for it. Now, I do think, I'll stand by my comments earlier. I think everybody should have their own small business. Everybody. I had my business for about 7 or 8 years, but I worked in others, growing other businesses. And there's nothing more satisfying than working for yourself and making money. And my elevator speech is, we teach people how to make money, how to manage their money, and how to keep their money. And that creates joy, happiness, joy, and it gives them security, and they can provide benefits for their families, and they can hire other people. And Clackamas County's got 15,000 businesses pre-COVID. Half of them have 5 employees or less. 2/3 of them have less than 10 employees. 80% of them have less than 20 employees. We are definitely a country of small businesses that are the backbone of this country. And so I encourage everybody, even if it's just a side hustle, so keep your day job and get your side hustle. I think it's It's the most rewarding experience you can have. And my satisfaction, my internal satisfaction, the guy that won that Small Business Person of the Year, he's been taking our Growth Wheel class for 12 years. He takes it every year. He is a student. And it's like Carrie and Laura said, they are dedicated to learn what they need to know. So we help them think through what they need to know and what decision they need to make so they can make an informed business decision to move forward. And it's very rewarding to see that when they're successful.
Thank you all. This information has been, I learned a lot, extraordinarily helpful. I would also say we need dreamers, we need inventors. Everything that's around us was somebody's idea before it was a reality. So keep up the dreaming and get connected with one of these resources at least. And if you have any questions that we didn't answer, I know that there were a few that came in. We're just going to kick it to the next slide because I know that we're at 5:30. The next slide, we did the questions. I just wanted to share that that TIE has a youth program. So if you have a young person in your life that has an idea or is thinking about entrepreneurship, make sure to connect with us, learn more about the Clackamas Youth Programming Virtual Fair, where they can find more information about CTE, STEM opportunities and activities, internships, mentorship. And if you have any questions, you can contact Amy Black at Clackamas Workforce Partnership. I really appreciate everyone hanging in there till the end. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your evening and week. Happy holidays.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Brian and Amanda, you both did an amazing job. Thank you so much for your help with the back the back of the house stuff.
No problem. Thank you. We
Yeah.
had one minor issue, but other than that.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much, Bridget. Great job. Appreciate it. And Amanda, you're grabbing all the stuff.
Yeah, it'll take a little bit to download. So I'm going to just end this and I'll get it. It'll probably take a solid hour to get
Okay.
it all downloaded. So I'm going to end this. Thanks all.
Bye. Thanks so much, Amanda.